Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday's Early Morning Intuitive Guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some guidance to think about during the day, maybe have a conversation with someone about, spread the wealth, or get them thinking about the same things you're thinking about. whatever unfolds, right? So, did something interesting today to help us come up with our guidance for today. Instead of a card deck, we have a book, which we've done chapters out of books since this began well over 10 years ago. Good morning to whomever just popped on. Glad you're here. But I went to the back of the book, way to the back, where they actually did a Q&A with the author, which is pretty cool. So it was actually 10 reader questions answered by the author, and I picked out a handful of them for us to go over. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't done this before, because there's some great stuff in the back of the book. So just as there's oftentimes great stuff in the preface or the introduction, and when we're sharing with others, we tend to miss all that. So we're going to mine it up for our edification today. So we'll give it a minute for some others to join us. Let's do Good Morning, Joe Neal. I wondered if that was you lurking there. Could not get volume. Okay. Do you have volume now? Can you hear me now? Hopefully. Good morning, Angie. Welcome. Glad you're here. So let's do a round of tapping without words, with the intention that we're opening to receiving whatever part of this message chimes for us and moves us into some kind of action related to the part that chimes for us. So, starting on the side of the hand. Oh, good. Wouldn't want to miss out on this one, because this is going to be some interesting stuff. So, 2 cups of coffee. Rock on, girl. That's awesome. I can use that. It's got a busy day today. A lot of running around. So, tap it on the side of your hand. And this is for the intention of being open to whatever's here for you to receive. Inside corner of the eyebrows. Outside corner of the eyes. So you don't always have to have words when you're tapping. It can be just tapping with an intention. Under the eyes. Under the nose. Under the mouth. And under the nose, that's where I felt the shift, kind of an opening. Collarbone, my favorite spot. Under the arms, like where your bra strap runs across. And around the crown of your head. So I also wanted to say something interesting. I'm noticing that I'm getting less traction with the videos on Facebook than I had been in the past. Typically, there'd be a couple hundred views by the end of the day, and now it's more like in the 50 range. So I don't know if they changed their algorithm yet again, and there's some kind of weirdness going on. I also noticed that the number of you on live is lower than is typical. So not sure if they've changed something or what the scoop is, but I do know that I had to change how I'm posting things, because Facebook now has a rule that your videos only last for 30 days and then they get wiped out. So I'm still filming them here, but then I'm uploading them to YouTube, and then I'm sharing the YouTube to all my other platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc., so they last, so they don't just disappear. So, speaking of lasting, Outrageous Openness, Letting the Divine Take the Lead by Tosha Silver. This is kind of one of our go-to books in terms of guidance. And guidance that's cheeky, guidance that's fun, which makes it more consumable, I think. A little bit of humor never hurts. So I'm going to read some of the questions and answers and just see how it chimes for you. Notice what rises to the surface for you. And I will tell you on the front end, what rose to the surface for me in the Q&A that I'm going to read is the saga of our ego, and how when we're doing things from our ego, it's by definition stunted progress. Whereas if we can get our ego out of the way and really allow ourselves to be that instrument in God's hands, or following the divine lead, or listening to the universe, or however you want to say that, everything's a possibility. Everything opens up. So we'll go from there and see what you think. But I love this first question. I love the title, Outrageous Openness. Where did it come from? True story. Back in 2011, the book originally was going to be called Outrageous Optimism. And I think it's really good that it's not called that, because now there's this whole movement kind of pushing against the words optimism and positivity. So probably better that she used a different word. Anywho, she was going to call it Outrageous Optimism. But 2 days before self-publishing it, so there, for those of you who are writing your own books and going to self-publish, that's how she started. And that's one of the prime ways that some people get their books out there. You do the self-publishing thing, and if it sells well enough, you might get picked up by a publishing house. Things are different now. 2 days before self-publishing it, I discovered that another book with the same title already existed. Good morning, Barb. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. I thought it was just going to be the three of us for a while. Now we've got four. This is awesome. She says, I put panic aside and did exactly what Outrageous Openness would say. I offered it to the divine that the perfect name was already selected and would arise in the right way. I felt a warm calm within me. So think about that. As we practice this and as we get really good with this turning it over thing, we get to feel warm calm instead of ice cold panic. Sounds like a good deal to me. Later that day, I decided to go for a pedicure. For some crazy reason, I knew I would get a sign there. Sometimes you just know like you know, right? As I was picking the color at the salon, I was drawn to a bright turquoise, which was called Be Open. That was it. This was proof that the divine can even use a random pedicure or any other experience to bring you the right answer. The divine just wants to be included. And again, that's a piece where that ego that we have causes problems, because the ego wants to drive the bus. It doesn't want to co-drive the bus with the universe. So when we say, ego, back of the bus, you get to come along, but you don't get to run the show, and we're co-piloting with the universe, magic can happen. Magic can happen. So speaking of that, here comes the second question. Good morning, Nancy. Goose morning, huh? All right. Yes, we can have a goose morning. I think we're going to get some thunder and rain in a moment here, but hopefully we hold out for a bit. Question number 2, a reader question for Tosha Silver about outrageous openness. How is this different from focusing on law of attraction and manifesting? It's a very different focus, although parts of law of attraction are included in outrageous openness. For example, our thoughts do impact our reality. She's talked about that. We've now heard that from the Palladians in the other book. Repeated, Sharon Ellison talks about that as well. So we've got a grip on that now, right? Our thoughts impact our reality. If we constantly think negative or fearful thoughts, how many have fallen into that trap recently? Doom scrolling. We will invariably attract those experiences. Keeping a high vibe is a key part of this book. Thus, my friend Kayleen Welsh's statement of vibration management. We need to be pouring our hearts and souls into vibration management. Stay up there. We don't do the world any good or anyone around us when we allow ourselves to bog down in the yuck with other people. When we can stay up, hold our vibration here, even if we don't say anything to those other people, they're going to get some of our wow on their ick. And they can go from there, all right? So here's what she has to say about manifesting. And she says, I find that focusing on manifesting is limited and exhausting since it leaves God out. It often involves a shopping list of what the ego wants to get from the universe. By its very nature, that's profoundly limited. A friend even wrote a funny story once called, "Now that I manifested it, how the heck do I get rid of it?" Not every desire is for our highest good. Outrageous openness is about allowing for intimacy with the divine, intimacy with nature, connecting with the universe, a true, deep connection. That's where that satisfaction in our heart and soul comes from, right? Since this force of love knows our heart and soul completely, deep desires are often fulfilled in surprising ways as one learns to align with it. So it's not commanding the universe to do something, it's aligning with the flow. Yes, good morning to you too. I like to always say, I don't manifest a darn thing. I actually have zero interest. I'd much rather see what God does through me. In outrageous openness, you will learn how to offer your problems to the divine and get out of the way so that what's meant to happen can happen. You can stop manipulating reality and allow the good to happen through you. You can invite this force of love to use you. The more you ask to be a vehicle for the highest force, the more that it will occur. Moment of silence for that concept. Okay, God, it's Tuesday. How would you like to use me today? Point me in a direction and I will go. Question number 5. I'm jumping around a little bit here. Don't you want your wishes to come true? I want God's wishes for me to come through. I want the divine unfolding to take the lead. My own wishes, see if you can resonate with this statement. My own wishes, especially in my 20s and 30s, created nothing but a trail of wreckage and heartbreak. There's a reason that the 12-step programs talk about self-will run riot. I was the poster child. Offering wishes to the divine allows them to be fulfilled, delayed, or ignored, because that's what's in your highest and best good. That's what's in your highest and best good. Good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. You'll have to go back and watch from the beginning because we've had some great questions already. Wishes and desires become preferences. This brings detachment from your wishes, desires, and it brings space and peace. Doesn't that sound lovely right about now? Some space and some peace. You truly stop being a slave to obsessions. Things will often arrive in ways you never imagined because your detachment has actually allowed room for a higher plan to emerge. This brings pure and simple happiness. And I'm experiencing this concept right now. I have been dogging this intentional community thing for probably 5 years total. Heavily invested, not realizing that's what it was, but heavily invested in this unfolding in a particular way. Having exhausted myself on that ego journey, more recently I am in the place of whatever, throw up the hands. Some people hand things over to the divine very gracefully, some of us more gracelessly. Whatever, divine, I give up, take over. And now some things are unfolding. How interesting, right? How interesting. I was in the way without even realizing it. So, question number 6. Well, I believe God helps those who help themselves. Anybody else heard that their entire life? How is letting the divine take the lead, not just passivity and lying around? I get this question so often. I once wrote a blog post called, "Why Letting the Divine Take the Lead Has Nothing to Do with Doing Nothing." Great title. She's really good at this stuff. Because our culture is so dualistic by nature. This or that, us versus them, right and wrong, black and white, blah, 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 blah. And that's really, right now, that's really what we are being called to transcend. We are done. Yeah, that was one of your mother's favorite statements. Fabulous. Yep, I heard it all all the time and sometimes still do. But that is done. That is done. It's no longer either or. It's yes and. And. Make that word a huge part of your vocabulary. Either or, but, all that stuff has to go away. And. All right? So she's saying, and again, know that I'm saying, this is what we're changing. Right here, right now, in the midst of all of this extreme mess, because the extremes are not where the answers lie. The extremes are not where the answers lie. Repeat, the extremes are not where the answers lie. Because our culture is so dualistic by nature, the focus is either on make it happen or be passive. Opposite ends of a continuum, right? Divine masculine run amok, divine feminine run amok. So, but trusting the divine is neither. Letting the divine take the lead is about offering problems, including one's whole life, over, and then allowing the right actions to arise at the right time. And again, the more you begin to honor this, the more those nudges surface, and the more you heed them. And with some of them, when they are vital ones, the louder they get when you don't. Pay attention, because you don't want the 2x4 up beside the head. You want to go, when it's, hey, take a look at this. That's when you want to respond. Not whammo. That's a little too late in my opinion. You start to know when to wait and when to act. Everything comes organically. You stop wasting time. Thank you for posting that, Gwen. I appreciate that. That one just came out. I'm not sure what aspect of the divine offered that to me, but there it is, and I think it's beautiful. Everything comes organically. You stop wasting time doing something when it's not yet ripe. I remember a story from Wayne Dyer, where ask then listen, where he was a little boy and he was in and out of a lot of foster homes. And this particular foster home was with an older woman, and she had him, he was maybe 4, planting tomato seeds and covering them up and watering them, and it blew his little 4-year-old mind. And so he went to dig down and see what was happening. And so she had to explain to him it wasn't time yet. Had to wait, had to leave that seed to do what seeds do. And that's where the believe part of ask, believe, receive comes from. The believe is, even though I can't see anything, even though I have no idea what the divine is doing with this, I have turned it over. And therefore it's in that wait period that I am. And the wait period is ripe for developing our faith and trust. Along with that P word, patience. I'm working on that one. Yes, it's not the right time. Same concept as there is no such thing as rejection. There is no such thing as rejection. It's merely a misalignment. There's not a good fit there. It's not the right fit. If someone dumps you, it's not a rejection. It's simply they weren't a good fit. Bless them on their way. Move on. You get fired from a job. It wasn't a good fit. Even if you thought it was a perfect fit, there's something better waiting for you. And if you stand there staring at that job that no longer is, you're not looking for what's out there. What's out there? Right? Okay, back to the book. You learn how to go with the green lights. You learn how to wait. The more you invite in this approach, the easier it gets. Outrageous openness describes how to do it quite thoroughly. So, this is the last question, question number 8. What are the simplest ways to begin? I'm overwhelmed with the need for change. Anybody can relate? There are very simple tools. For example, read chapter 4 on the God box. I call mine a God jar for obvious reasons. And get one. This is a box where you offer over concerns and worries to the divine. You allow the burden to be cast to God, and you release the idea that it belongs to you. For most people, that's the perfect starting point. So think about that. That's an ego thing right there. This is my problem. That's an ego declaration. There's a problem here. Can you feel the distance? Not my problem. There's a problem here. How will the universe address this? Let's open this up. Let's turn it over. Let's see what opportunities arise to address this problem. Also, here she's talking about my method. Just open the book anywhere. You don't have to read cover to cover at first. Just ask it a question and see what answers. So I usually hold it like this, one hand on each side, and say, and if it's for our reading like today, okay, show me something that we all need to be attending to right now. Open to a page, and that's what I read you guys. So, let me go back here because I didn't finish 8 yet. So that's a way to go about it. Simple tools. The God jar, God box, whatever you want. And, okay, show me something. You can also pray. Open me, divine, to what I need to know right now. Allow me to open to the changes you wish for me. So look who's driving the bus there. Allow me to open to the changes you wish for me. So it's kind of like the universe is saying, how about you take a look at this? And we are co-creating by saying, all right, I'll look. Or make up your own. Outrageous openness is all about inviting in the energy of engagement and intimacy. It's not a here's your list of 10 things you must do in this order at the break of dawn, blah, blah, blah. It's make it your own. So I did a God jar instead of a God box. Does that mean this isn't turning it over to the divine? No! There's flexibility here. It is not that either or. In fact, that's what we are attempting to break. No more either or, no more us versus them, no more this or that, yes or no, And. What are the options here? What am I seeing for options here? What might the divine offer for options that I'm not even seeing yet? How fabulous is that? I hope that fills your heart and soul with hope and joy. It's not about following rules like in so many spiritual courses and books. Too many rules make things not work well. Sometimes it's easier to apologize later than ask permission ahead. I've always been that person. Not well received in some circles. But put in the feed. What was most useful for you here? What do you want to cogitate on? What was like, wow, really? And I will address that stuff when I come back to load this onto the other platforms, etc. But I thought that was a whole lot of useful information in a question and answer format that helps us up our game, helps us practice staying in a high vibration more and more, helps us recognize when we're sliding into the abyss and we need to recalibrate. Being willing to do the things that recalibrate us. For me, being in nature is one of them. Most definitely. Journaling is one of them. Breath work is one of them. So yesterday was actually my last day of breath work. Does that mean I'm going to stop? No. But it's going to be less like a contest and more like just part of my, and that's one of the reasons to do it for 30 days. Because those of you who've done it with me have done it for 30 days, it's more likely you're going to continue it. Sprinkle it in here, sprinkle it in there. And somewhere down the line, you'll probably say, whatever happened to that breathwork thing? I haven't done that in a while. Let me revisit that. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So I hope this was helpful. I found it helpful. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.